Hey, Facebook sisters, can you hear me? I'm kind of talking a little quietly today because I'm in my backyard and I can hear the neighbors. They're like out. So I don't want the whole world to hear everything that I share with you guys. I just want you guys to hear it. So I'm going to show you my backyard. I decided to come up here on top of the kids' like play set thing. So I'm going to turn this camera around and show you where I am. That's our back porch. That's our fire pit where we have fires. We cook a lot of hot dogs there. That's the kids' trampoline. Tom made we have 3 dogs, so Tom made this little walkway, and then that's the poopy pen. They're little dogs, so they'll run away if we let them out, so they have to poop in there. And then we're backed up to kind of a swamp. And so in the wintertime, you can see the swamp, but in the summertime, it fills in with all these trees. And then back there is it's kind of like farmland, but it's also, there are houses spread out there. So, and then our neighbors are on the other side of those trees. We've got a neighbor, and then we've got a neighbor over there. So I'm up here on this playset thingy, like it's those kinds of playsets that have a slide and a swing set. Oh, and there's my son. I'm doing a Facebook Live right now, and then I'll come in, okay? Okay, so this is what I want to share with you guys today. Let me turn this around so I can talk to you. The sun is going to be in my eyes now. There, I'm going to get over here, the shady part. Okay. What I wanted to share with you today is I was reading the Bible. Good morning, Lisa. I was reading the Bible, and I'm reading in the book of Mark. And it's so amazing to read the Bible from this different lens, of, like, I've taken a break from the Bible for a while, and because it had been used like a weapon for so long, and I just was triggered by some of the verses in the Bible. So now that I've taken a break, I'm back in reading, and I'm taking lots of notes. I have a study Bible. I'll show you what it looks like. Let me show you. So it's got like these places on the side where you can take notes. So that's what I do. I'm going through and just taking notes on what I read. All right, so what I read is, listen to this. And I never saw this before, but just listen to this. So when he came, this is Judas, he went right up to him, to Jesus, and he said, "Rabbi," and he kissed him. Then they took hold of him, Jesus, and arrested him. And one of those who stood by drew his sword, struck the high priest's slave, and cut off his ear. But Jesus said to them, "Have you come out with swords and clubs as though I were a criminal to capture me? Every day I was among you, teaching in the temple complex, and you didn't arrest me. But the scriptures must be fulfilled." Then they all deserted him and ran away. All right, now normally I would read this. I've been reading the Bible every year, all the way through every year since I was a little kid until I took this break. And normally I'd read that and go, yeah, I read that a million times before. Okay, seen the movie, seen 25 different versions of the movie. I already know all that. But what struck me was that Judas, what had been one of Jesus' closest friends and confidants for 3 years. And when Judas betrayed Jesus, he betrayed him with a kiss. That means he was really an enemy, but he was pretending to be a friend. Now, isn't that kind of reminds me of like how abusers are and abusive people are. They pretend to be your friend, but they really just want to use you. It's disguised love. All right, and then the other thing was that they treated Jesus as if he was the abuser, and they had to protect themselves from him. That's why they brought clubs and swords. We had to protect ourselves from this guy. He's the bad guy. We're the good guys. And Jesus, and it was the exact opposite was true. It didn't matter what the evidence was. It didn't matter how long Jesus had been spending just healing people and loving people. He was the abuser in their eyes. He was the bad guy. And then the other thing is that when they arrested him, all of his friends left him. They deserted him. And that's what I've seen happen so many times when survivors finally stand up and they are honest about their relationship, their friends and their family will desert them. So I just saw so many parallels, and I realized once again just how much Jesus understands exactly what you're going through. If you're going through, or if you have been through any of these things. There's a bee right by me, and I hope he just minds his own business. I'm gonna mind my own business, you mind yours. All right, so I wanted to share with you a dream that I had. It was a dream I had about a year before my story shifted and I began to get out of my former marriage. And getting out of my former marriage took many years, okay? So this was a year before I started that process. And what I dreamt was that my mom and my two sisters told me that they had a surprise for me. And they were going to, it was my birthday, and they were going to take me to this surprise. And we all got in the car and we drove. It was nighttime. We drove to an empty football stadium. And we walked into the stadium, and they brought me to the middle of the stadium, and it was dark. There were no lights on. And I was beginning to feel, I had first been feeling really excited. I love surprises. And I was feeling really loved and cared about. And we got to the middle of the football stadium, and all of a sudden, all the football stadium lights turned on. So we were standing in the middle of the stadium, all the lights were on, and I looked around me, and the stadium was full of people. And you know how dreams are weird? I could actually see their faces. Normally, you would not be able to see the faces of the people in the stands when you're in the middle of a football stadium, but I could see all of their faces. And as I looked around, I saw people from all the different parts of my life, from my childhood and my junior high and high school and college, and then from the different churches that I'd been a part of. All of these people were there. And I noticed that my mom and my two sisters were backing away from me, like to distance themselves from me. And then I started noticing that the smiles on the faces of the people in the stadium were mean smiles. And have you ever read Mike Mulligan and his Steam Shovel to your kids? There's a character in there. What's his name? Anyway, he always smiles with a mean smile. That's what was happening. I love books that teach things like that to kids because they need to know. People can smile, and it could be a mean smile. Anyway, I looked around. They're all smiling meanly, and all of a sudden they start grabbing things like tomatoes and cans and rocks, and they start throwing all of these things at me and laughing. And they're not laughing with me, they're laughing at me, and I realize with horror that they are going to kill me. And that my mom and my sisters had brought me there to let them kill me. And I woke up, like my whole body was literally shaking. I woke up and I sobbed and I sobbed and I sobbed. That dream, I am a dreamer. I've had bad dreams my whole entire life, and good dreams. And I dream every night. Sometimes I write the dreams down. And my dreams are very vivid and they're very real, but this was like no other dream I had ever had in my entire life. This was so real to me, and so I knew that it meant something, but I didn't know what it meant, right? Because this is prior to everything that happened in my life as far as getting out of my relationship. And so that whole dream has come true, you guys. I never would have believed it, but it has come true. But here's the thing. I went to a therapy appointment it was about a year after I'd had that dream. And this is when I was starting to get on my journey up and out. This therapist happened to be a quack, okay? But he did do one thing that was very helpful for me. And he had me go back into that dream. Oh my gosh, just noticed my hair. Look at that. That's kind of funny. I'm just going to leave it like that because it's kind of, in fact, I'm going to twist it up and all right. So he said to me, he had me go back and reimagine the dream. And then he asked me and relive the dream. And then he asked me to bring Jesus into it. Where would Jesus be in that dream? And so I did. I fully went back into that dream. I processed through it. And this is where Jesus came. When they were throwing things at me, all of a sudden, this is when I'm reprocessing, okay? All of a sudden, the stadium melted away. The people melted away like melting chocolate, okay? And they just melted into a swirl, melted away. And I was left in the middle of an open field. Beautiful. It looked a lot like, well, but it was full of beautiful nature. It was gorgeous. And there was Jesus. He was kind of far away, but there he was, and he was smiling at me, not with a mean smile. He was smiling at me with so much love. I could feel it just self around me. And he was walking toward me with his arms open, and I started running towards him. I knew it was going to be okay. And he gave me a big hug, and he said, it's all going to be okay. Trust me. I've got you. It's all going to be okay. Well, that was really helpful for me, because then when I went into the several years of losing everybody, not everybody that I loved, but losing almost everybody that I loved, and for sure many of the people that I was the closest to and cared the most about having a relationship with, people that I had, like my family of origin, my mom and my sisters. My dad has died since then. He was not a part of that dream, but I never ever felt like my dad had conditions on his love for me. But with the other ones, I felt like I was always trying to be what they wanted me to be. And I never felt like I could measure up. And I always felt like I was viewed like they had to bring swords and clubs when they were around me to protect themselves, because I was too much for them, because I was too emotional. I was too opinionated to that. And I look back, and I am those things. I am all of those things. And I accept myself the way I am now. But I also know that I've changed a lot, and continue to change. I still had relationships with those people. But here's the thing. Jesus really did come through for me in all of that. And what I was left with, what was intact in my faith and in my relationships, was my relationship with Jesus. It is still intact, and it's still real, and it's still vibrant. But it doesn't involve practices that are made up like rules that you have to follow. Like if you read the Bible every day for a certain amount of time, then you will have a close relationship with Jesus. Those are ideas, those are thoughts in our head that have been put there by other people who had those thoughts in their head. They're not actually rooted in reality. Can you grow closer to God as you get to know him better? Absolutely. But you can get to know God not just in the Bible. You can get to know God by getting to know other people who are Christ-like. You can get to know God by sitting out here in this and recognizing, and just sitting in the stillness of it and recognizing that his presence is here. His presence is right here in this very moment in time. We don't have tomorrow. We don't have yesterday. We have this moment. He's right here with you wherever you are. And he's right here with me up here on this swing set. And he's here, and we can get to know him by sitting in his presence. He is love. He is love. So you may be betrayed by family and friends and people that you thought would never, ever betray you. That person will never betray me. I'm their child, or I'm their sibling, or I'm their spouse, or I'm their mother. They'll never betray me. Why would they? I love them. They love me, don't they? They may betray you. That's what people do. We do that to each other. That's what human beings do. But you will never be betrayed by your Creator who created you. He promises to never leave you or forsake you. And when you have dreams like that, or when those dreams come true and reality happens like that, you need to, your brain is an organ in your body, okay? It runs on autopilot, and it's like a computer. You get to control what you think about. You get to decide, because now whenever I think about that dream, I always remember the ending. And I got to think about that ending and create that ending for myself. And it helps me to live rooted in what I believe is reality of the creator of this universe and the creator and the lover of my soul. So you get to make things mean what you want them to mean. So ask God. Don't ask other people what you should make something mean. Ask God what he wants you to make something mean. And what God wanted me to make the betrayal of my family mean for me is that I can lose everything on this earth. My heart and my flesh may fail, but God is my portion. I can't remember that. I'm totally massacring that verse, but God is my portion forever. God is I might be mixing up and combining a couple different verses there, but you get my point. Everything, people can fail us. We can fail ourselves. But God is with us forever. We always have him. He's never going to ever leave us. So that's all I have for you guys today. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll post this on YouTube for people who didn't get a chance to watch. And fly free.